Hello, welcome to my World History Review. Today we're going to talk about the Unit 4 topic for slavery and enslavement. We start from the North African slave trade. There is a long time of slavery in Africa, and the slave is often the prisoners of war, criminals, and debtors. There are many stories of rebellion on both sides of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean too. The Zend rebellion in 9th century in Mesopotamia is one of the most successful slave uprisings in history. The North African or Islamic slave trade from 750 to 1500s included about 10 million people in bondage was still not as extensive as the transatlantic slave trade from 16th century to 1808, and slavery as an institution continued after the trade was banned until the late 19th century in some countries and still 1865 in the United States. The Portuguese slave traders were among the first, last, and most important in enslaving people from the Congo to their colony at Latin America, Brazil. There is also different type of slavery in America, include Incamita, which is Spanish forced Incas to provide 1/7 of their population as labor. Before Spanish arrived, Incamita is for common good like, while after Spanish arrived, it is for cash crop cultivation. The encomienda system is Spanish king granted any person went to America a set number of Native America for start their plantation. Indentured servitude is people who enter into contract with someone to serve as labor to an employer for a period of time. Half of European immigrants is this kind of labor. Chattel slavery is the worst. People, often blacks, sold to colonies as hard laborers or slaves. They are very hardly to granted free once after they've been enslaved. Spanish and Portuguese had a hierarchy in their Latin American colonies based on race. The people who locate at the top is Peninsulares, which is Iberian aristocrats, Creoles, which is descendants of Peninsulares, and then is Mestizos, mixed American Indian, Mulattoes, mixed blacks, and the people at the bottom is Native American Indian and African slave. The tragic part of the triangular trade was the transatlantic slave trade, the bondage, forced relocation, and subsequent subjugation of people from Africa to the Americas. After European explorers and settlers had decimated Native American populations through war and disease, European slave traders took millions of people from Africa, then through the Middle Passage as a human cargo them to the Americas for sale. The Africans had a greater immunity to yellow fever and malaria because they have been part of the Afro-Eurasian trade and not isolated. Most enslaved Africans were sold in the Caribbean or Brazil for cash crop cultivation like sugar. The Portuguese called enslaved people harvesting sugar cane and ganhos, which mean engines. Only 5% of the black people were sold in today's United States, but the U.S. slave population grew naturally. Congress banned the transatlantic slave trade in 1808, but the institution of slavery was not abolished in the United States until 1865, after the Civil War and 13th Amendment. Few slaves were granted freedom. One famous example is Aurora Equiano or Gustavus Vassa, who was born in Nigeria, a slave in South Carolina, and then a freeman in England. He published his autobiography in 1789, the year when George Washington became United States president. There is also some strong African empire. The Kingdom of Dahomey or Dahomey Empire is one of them. The empire located in today's Benin. They did practice slavery on the Gold Coast of Africa. For every male leader, there was also a female leader. Their cultural religious practice was voodoo, a traditional African religion. When they faced with colonization by the French in the 19th century, they had one of the fierce responses from women warriors known as the Dahomey Amazons. Their bronzes was taken by imperialist art collectors, and they are recently trying to take them back. Another famous woman leader of African country is Queen Nzinga of Ndongo. Ndongo located at today modern Angola. Queen Nzinga was not supposed to be the heir, but she showed more intelligence, military prowess, and leadership than her brothers. So she reigned after her father's death. While Portuguese sought to take over, she negotiated by learning their language, accepting Christianity, and allying with the Dutch. Her country was still sovereign when she died, but it was taken over and exploited subsequently. Still, she is remembered as a great ruler. There's many slave escape and rebellions in both North and South America. In the 1680 Pueblo Revolt, a Native American named Pope led his tribe against Spaniards, mainly because they rejected Catholicism, and they won, but the leader named Pope. In the 1739 Sterno Rebellion, enslaved Congolese people fled to Spanish Florida, but they did not make it, and most were decapitated. In Brazil, escaped enslaved people from their own communities called quilombos. A man named Zumbi became a folk hero, almost mythological figure for other interested in escape.